All right, so we're going to continue on double number lines. So today we're going to be creating our own, and this is lesson 7. It says, let's draw double number lines like a pro. So at some point in the lesson, you're going to need a separate sheet of paper. It could be line paper, printer paper, construction paper. It really doesn't matter. But you're going to be taking a picture of this piece of paper as well as your notes today. So it says, here are some guidelines to keep in mind when drawing double number line diagrams. So the two parallel lines should have labels. So we got to remember to label what we're talking about that describe what the numbers represent. It says the tick marks and numbers should be spaced equally. So you're going to make sure that the tick marks are equal comparing to each number line. And the numbers line up vertically. When they do, that makes them equivalent. So here's an example. The ratio of the number of eggs to cups of milk in a recipe is 4-1. Here's a number line. So notice that it's labeled. Notice that it starts at 0. Notice that this spacing and this spacing are pretty equal. It doesn't need to be exact, but it should be pretty equal. And notice how this 4 is above the 1, this 8 is above the 2. So everything needs to line up. So we can also say that this recipe uses 4 eggs per cup of milk because the word per means for each. So per is what we're kind of guiding toward. That's where we're going to in the next steps of this. So we have a definition for the word per. The word per means for each. So they give you an example. If the price is $5 per ticket, that means you're going to pay $5 for each ticket. So buying 4 tickets would cost you 4 times 5 or $20. So per means for each. So we're going to be using that word pretty much from here. So you're in your book right now and you're on page 40. So it says the other day, we didn't really make this green recipe because we weren't in class, but there's a mixture of blue water and yellow water. And it says we want to make a small batch of the same shade of green water. We need to know how much yellow water to mix with only 1 milliliter of blue water. So number 1 says, on the number line for blue water, label the 4 tick marks. So I already did that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on page 40, number 1, you're writing the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 where you see them on mine. And then for number 2, you're still on page 40. It says on the number line for yellow water, draw and label tick marks to show the amount. So I did my own little tick marks here. So you're going to draw 4 tick marks and you're going to label each one 3, 6, 9, 12. And I'm getting that based on what it said to me above. So you're going to label those 3, 6, 9, and 12. Okay, now it says how much yellow water should be used for 1 milliliter of blue. So blue is here, and here's the 1 milliliter. So the one that's vertical to it is what's equivalent to it. So your answer would be 3 milliliters. That's on page 40. So now I'm on number 4. It says how much yellow water should be used for 11 milliliters of blue. So what's happening is we're taking this 11 and we're multiplying it to the yellow number for 1 batch. So we would do 3 times 11 and we would get 33. Okay, now it says how much yellow water should be used for 8 milliliters of blue water. So we would take this 8 and we would multiply it to the yellow water for 1 batch. So 8 times 3 is 24 milliliters. Now you'll turn to page 41. So it says, why is it useful to know how much yellow water should be used with 1 milliliter of blue water? And the answer is to multiply it. So when we know what's going on for yellow, or blue, we can multiply the other by it. So that's why it's important to know that. Okay, so now we're on the next section, art paste on a double number line, and you're still on page 41. Now you're going to need that separate sheet of paper. If you need to pause the video, go ahead, but this will all be done on a separate sheet of paper that you'll turn in. Okay, so number 1 says, follow the instructions and draw a double number line representing a recipe. So for A, it says use a ruler to draw 2 parallel lines. So on your paper, you're going to draw 2 parallel lines that are spaced pretty well. I would not make them too close because you're going to be writing things on these. Okay, so now for B, it says label the first line pints. So you're going to label it to the left like we've been seeing, pints of water. And then you're going to label the second line cups of flour. So yours should look like this on your piece of paper. And we're adding to it every time. So now C says, draw at least 6 equally spaced tick marks that line up. So notice how this lines up with this. And then I gave it a space and they're pretty equal, right? So you're going to want to equally draw these tick marks that I have, and you should have at least 6 of them on each line. All right, so now on your piece of paper, it says along the water line, label the tick marks with the amount of water in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 batches. Okay, so for the water, we're multiplying every time by 2. Remember that the number line always starts with a 0. It always needs to start with a 0, and then you're going to count by 2s. So on the second tick, write a 2, and then 4, and then 6, and then 8, and then 10, the same way that mine looks. All right, so now on your separate sheet of paper, you're going to draw your cups of flour. So along the flour line, you're going to put batches 0 through 5 for the flour. So the flour is here. And with the flour, you're doing it times 8 every time. So this one is 8. 16. I'm just counting by 8s as I make it. And I go up to 40. Okay, so I skipped number 2. Now you're going to just do number 3. So it says, next, use the double number line to answer these questions. How much flour should be used with 10 pints of water? So I have water and I have 10. So the number that's vertical to that is the 40. So it would be 40 cups. Now it says how much water should be used with 24 cups of flour. So my 24 cups of flour is there. And the one that's vertical to that is the 6. So the answer would be 6 pints. Okay, and then for your last one, it says, how much flour per pint of water does this recipe use? So the water is going up by 2s every time. So you are multiplying by 2. So the answer would be 4 cups. So you will join the meet and you will start your practice.